So, when I came home from the mission field, my best friend had been home for about 6 months, and he was dating this girl that he really, really liked.
What was your best friend's name?
Larry. Larry. And he wanted to marry this girl, and he could not figure out how to get her more interested in him. And so I decided to play the part of counselor, to counsel him on what he needed to do in order to get this girl interested in him. But in order to do that, I needed to get to know the girl a little better. So I knew who she was, and I would meet her at the Institute after class or between classes, and we would just sit in the library and talk, and found out she liked flowers. So I told him to send her flowers, and he sent her flowers, and found out several things about her, and kept giving him advice and counsel on what he could do to get her interested in him, and he did everything that he could. But in the meantime, I decided that she was a pretty neat girl, and I liked her. And so I decided about 2 or 3 months into that perhaps this was every man for himself. And so rather than interviewing her for him, I just would meet her and we would talk, because I just really enjoyed talking with her and being with her. And then one evening, probably close to this time of year, close to Thanksgiving, I went over to visit her after family home evening, and we were sitting there talking, and without even hardly thinking about it, I just decided that I should ask her to marry me. And my heart started thumping, and I was scared to death, and I just kept putting it off, and I felt like I should ask her to marry me, and my heart would beat harder, and it was scary. Meanwhile, I wasn't doing much talking on our part of the conversation, so she was wondering what was going on because I was so quiet. And finally, after fighting with myself for quite a while, I just said, "Will you marry me?" And she said yes. And then we sat there for a little while contemplating on what we had just decided that we would do and thinking about that. But then the problem came up: how do you tell Larry? And we were still pondering that. It was about homecoming time, and we were standing in the storefront where I worked on Main Street, and the homecoming parade was going by. And I was standing there holding her hand, and Larry walks in the store. That was an awkward moment, because he saw us holding hands. And then we both knew that this had to be told here soon. So she made a date with him, and in the course of that date she told him that her and I were in love, and that we were going to get married. And as I recall, in his consternation, he slugged the top of his car as hard as he could. And I don't know what he said. Later on we got together and talked about it, and he was my best friend, my very best friend from high school. And I was a little concerned about what would happen to our friendship, but he was a good man, and he forgave us, forgave me. But the most awkward part came when I asked him to be my best man at the reception, and while we were standing in the line greeting people, somebody came through and made that tired old joke when they got to him, and they did not know the circumstances. They just shook his hand and said, "Hey, if you're the best man, why didn't you get the girl?" And the look on Larry's face was really sad. It was a very pathetic look. And the look on my face probably was shock and anguish that somebody would say that. I don't know if Crystal heard that one or not. but I think both of us remembered that. We talked about it years and years and years later. Larry's a good man. He went on and he married a great lady. They had a nice family. She passed away a few years ago, and after being single for 5 or 6 years, he's now married again. He lives down in central Utah. Good man, great man, one of the best men I've ever known. Still my best friend whenever we can get together. Questions?
So where did you live at this time?
Cedar City.
Good.
Larry and I both graduated from Cedar High School in 1968. Then he went on a mission to New Zealand and ended up clear out in the Cook Islands. And 6 months later I went to Midwest.
Alright, and what time of year did this take place in?
I got home in August. He'd been dating Crystal for, I don't know, a few months through that summer anyway. And so I was doing all my counseling through August and probably into September. It was probably October when when he found out he saw us holding hands in the store, and it was about in the first part of November, or maybe even really close to Thanksgiving, when I asked her to marry me.
How long was your engagement?
6.5 months. We didn't get married till June 1st. That's a long time to be engaged. It's
Okay.
too long.
Well, I think that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.